YouTube. My name is Stacy. I'm known here as Flighty Rambler, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel today. Today I am going to participate in the Crazy Craft Challenge, and it is crazy. The challenge is hosted by two wonderful ladies here on YouTube. There's Louisa Heinzel and Pam from the Paper Outpost. I'll have links to both of their channels listed in the description box below. And the first of these three challenges is to create 5 clusters blindfolded. Blindfolded. Can you believe it? I watched both Louisa and Pam's and a few other ladies work their way through the challenge before I decided I'd dip my toe into the Crazy Craft Challenge waters and see what I could come up with. And the first thing I did was go through my stash of doilies and pulled out a few of those because the lace would be very tactile. And these are pieces that I created for Defemorember, and they're mostly the embossed pieces as well as some stamping on burlap. I'm going to take those and put them in a little pile on the side because I know I can recognize them by feel. And also that's what I'm doing with these little postage stamps. I can feel the edges of them, so I'd be able to recognize them while I'm blindfolded. And that's my goal, is to have a few things that I can have around me that I can kind of feel my way through, because I won't be able to see. And then I'm going to pull out some papers, some text pages, some tissue papers, and things that I can kind of try to recognize while I'm not going to be able to see. And that's my goal, is to have these little piles all around me. In theory, it's going to work out great. Instead of using glue, I decided to emulate Pam and use a stapler. And I have my collection of papers, ephemera, bits and bobs, and I'm going to strategically, or at least to try to strategically place all these items in and around my work area so that I can feel my way through what I think is going to be there. In theory, I'm going to know where things are. So there's me bundling off all my little groups of items. Now it's time to choose my blindfold. I'm going to choose this beautiful pink scarf, and I'll double it up before I tie it around my eyes. And then the fun will begin. Now that I can't see, it's time to start. I know the very first one, I want to use the small paper doily as my background. And then from there, I kind of thought I knew where things were, and I was so wrong. But that's okay. That's what this fun was. I tried to recognize the shape. I did feel the smoothness and the raised edges on the embossed pieces, so that at least I knew that's what that was. And then I had my memory's short. It's short. It's spotty. I really don't remember where everything was that I had laid out. Honestly, after this first one, I am flying blind. I don't remember where things are, and I'm only glad that I decided to use very tactile things so that I could try to recognize them as I pulled them from the sides and into my project. Thankfully, the embossed pieces have that raised edge, so I can at least try to pretend that I can figure out what the pieces are as I pull them. Now I'm going to be hunting down my stapler. I know where I put it, except I forgot. So it took me a while to try to find my stapler. Can you believe me? It was so silly. And in the end, the stapler's on the right-hand side. There it is. And then try to find a way to staple it to make sure you get every piece stapled was interesting. And once that first cluster is done, I set it aside. And for some reason, when I start pulling papers for the second cluster, I continually grabbed the first cluster thinking that was going to be the perfect piece of paper. Oh my goodness. I can see why everybody laughs when they try these challenges. They are interesting. They're very interesting. I would have never thought to try a project blindfolded, and it became unorganized very quickly. There I am trying to grab my cluster as a piece of layering paper and just failing. So now I have a piece of the paper doily and a piece of paper, and I keep grabbing that cluster. I'm determined that's going to be my next layer, but no. So no, I'm not going to use the cluster in the second cluster. I'm going to find a piece of paper and just rip it, and I'm just going to build each of these clusters all by feel. And soon enough, all of the piles of papers that I had so carefully laid out around me become a complete unorganized mess. So I'm very glad that I decided to choose items that have a tactile difference amongst them so that I could tell scrapbook paper from lace doilies, from the postage stamps, from the embossed pieces. And that's the best I could do. So I could feel the embossed pieces. I could tell that one of them was a square. I didn't want another square. And so by running my finger around the edge, I was able to discern that this was maybe the heart. And I knew which side was up because it had that plastic embossed coating. And here I am struggling with my stapler. And sooner or later, I get it done, and voila. Voila, there is cluster number 2. Cluster number 2 done. And then it's time to move on to cluster 3, which, wow. We have to do 5 of these? I put together these pieces of embossed papers in the Defember Emperor Challenge hosted by Louisa Heinzel and Barbara at 49 Dragonflies. I'll put a link to the video where I'm learning how to emboss these things in the top right hand corner. And I'll also put a link to where I made some page tabs, which is where the burlap butterflies came from, I'll put a link to that video in the top right hand corner as well. I chose that gold doily deliberately, and look at me go. Look at me go. I'm using it upside down, and I'm not even going to get the gold effect. I'm like heartbroken watching it back, going, shouting at myself through the camera, turn it around, silly, turn it around. But no, I won't see that until the blindfold comes off. Oh my goodness. And the other thing is that because I'm blindfolded, I'm not able to check if I'm in frame. I feel like such a silly head for not pulling the camera up and out a bit more further, but that's what I get. Hindsight is 2020. And with that staple, that means that's 3 clusters finished and only 2 left. Let's see what kind of trouble I can get into with these last 2. The tissue paper that I'm using is some custom tissue paper. It's some stamping I had done to when I was cataloging my stamps. I was doing some off stamps on this tissue paper, so it's very discernible to me because it crinkles. It's loud. It's loud and crinkly. And so it looks like I'm going to go for more lace, more of this tissue paper. And of course, I'm going to use the gold napkin the wrong way up. What a waste of gold napkin is to use it with the white side up. Oh my goodness. So by now, all my fumbling and bumbling around on my desk means that all of the careful piles I had put together around me are now no more. There's no more neat and tidy piles. They are everywhere, and I am guessing at what is what. Like I said, I'm just grateful that a lot of the things I chose to put out for these clusters have a lot of tactile differences. The burlap I knew were all butterflies, and I did fussy cut a couple of them to add to the side. And so it was easy for me to tell which were the burlap butterflies, but unfortunately I couldn't tell the orientation, what was top, what was bottom. And honestly, that's part of the fun for this challenge, being blindfolded, not being able to see. Do it all by touch. How crazy is this? And with that final piece and a staple, that's cluster number 4. Cluster number 4. We have one more left. One more. And for interest, I'm trying to make sure that each of these clusters has 4 or 5 layers in them. And I'm just feeling my way around, trying to get my 4 clusters out of the way, because for some reason I keep grabbing them. I keep grabbing them. So there I am, reminding myself I have 4 clusters done, 1 remaining. And wow, here we go. One more. So I'm going to start off with a piece of paper doily and then just start building from there. I'm taking a piece of cardstock. It's smooth, so I know that it's cardstock. I just don't know which side is up, that's all. So I'm continually feeling through the layers I have in my one hand. I have 2 pieces now, and here comes a piece of that tissue paper that I recognize because it's so crinkly. And that'll make layer number 3, although which goes on top of which is just a crapshoot at this point. Oh my goodness. Watching myself with this playback. Wow. Oh my goodness. It's fun. It was great fun to do, and what an interesting challenge that Pam and Louisa have for us. So there I am, fingering through my layers, counting how many pieces I have in this little cluster. I'm trying to vary them within the cluster so that it looks a little different. And wow, if only I could yell at myself through the camera. If only I could yell at myself. I'd tell myself a few things, that's for sure. I'm not the only one. I am not the only one. There are a lot of us who are trying this crazy craft challenge and having a great time doing it, right? Have you tried it? Have you tried to put together a paper cluster with a blindfold on? I hope you have, because it is interesting. It's interesting for sure. And there's my stapler indicating that this is cluster number 5, done and dusted. And so with those 5 clusters, I'm done. I've fulfilled the challenge, and now it's time for me to take my blindfold off and have a look at what I've accomplished. Oh, geez. When I first saw the mess on my desk, I was gobsmacked. And then when I saw I had the gold doily on backwards on each of the projects, I was just heartbroken. So now that I can see, I'm assessing each of these clusters, making minor adjustments such as folding the gold doily so that the gold is at the front instead of at the back on the 3 pieces that I have it on. And other than that, it's, you know, things that weren't quite stapled, I stapled to make it a little bit more sturdy. And wow, there I am folding the gold doily so that you can see that flash of gold at the front. And that makes it a lot better, I feel. I'm not unhappy with any of the clusters. I think they're all interesting considering I was blindfolded. And would I do this challenge again? I don't know. I don't know. Or what are Louisa and Pam having cooked up for us for next month? So I'm just going to go through and make some minor adjustments on some of these clusters. I'm not going to make big changes. I'll trim some paper here. I'll fold the doily so that the gold is at the front on others. And on one, I'll reinforce it so that the paper doesn't fall and rip anymore. And on this one here, it was barely hanging on. So I did center it. I centered the image within the embossed area. And there's another cluster. It's just a minor adjustment, but it made a big difference. So I hope that everyone is having fun with this crazy craft challenge, and I'm really looking forward to trying number 2, challenge number 2. And I'm really looking forward to continuing on with this crazy craft challenge. It is crazy and it is a challenge, and it's exactly as advertised. So I hope you're joining us, and I hope to see your video soon. But for myself, that looks like it's it for this video. I'd like to thank you for watching. I encourage you to like this video. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.